Dr. Jibril Ibrahim, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, we've seen governments in the past make such a sing-song about fighting corruption. How now, in your opinion, would you describe the federal government's fight against corruption?
I like the way you put it, the sing-song about fighting corruption. In a sense, that has been the bane of Nigeria's political economy. For too long, governments make pronouncements that they are determined to fight corruption. And we eventually find out that it's that government that was taking the leadership in promoting and engaging in corruption. That has been Nigeria's history. But my sense is that we are now at a turning point when we have a government that is serious about what it says in terms of fighting corruption. My point, however, about the current government is that there are clear indications that they are serious about the fight against corruption. We are beginning to get details, we are beginning to see prosecutions grow, and we are getting information in terms of the details of how the National Treasury was looted in a systematic manner by public officials who had been entrusted with the responsibility to run this country.
You see, again, we're wondering, do you think the rule of law is being properly applied in the prosecution of cases? I mean, for instance, Dasuki's case, he's been granted bail 1, 2, 3 times, but it appears the federal government is not adhering to the rule, the ruling. So what do you exactly think about this?
My sense of what's happening in terms of the Dasuki case is that there's never been in our history an individual playing the role of master ATM as Dasuki was. What I'm getting from what is appearing is that almost on a daily basis, they are discovering new acts of corruption superintended by Mr. Dasuki, and that therefore there are numerous cases emerging. And I think the rule of law says you must obey what the courts say. Now, if the court gives bail to somebody, you release him on bail. But when you release him and you find out there's a totally new case that has emerged, then it becomes some sort of a rolling process of prosecution on numerous acts of corruption. That's my sense of what's going on.
So at the moment, now that he has not been released, even after the court has said otherwise, and it's looking like the federal government is playing on split charges here and there. What's your take on that?
Well, I don't have the details about split charges, but the principle for me is clear. If a court frees somebody on bail, that person must be released.
So you say he should be released?
Of course he should be released if he's offered bail. That's the principle of the rule of law, which all governments must adhere to. If you are released on bail on a specific charge, and there's a totally new charge that comes up, does that entitle you to be rearrested, not on the previous charge, but on a new charge? My sense as a non-lawyer is that that's a correct procedure.
What came to mind when you saw the number of prosecutions going on and then the number of bails following afterwards? What just came to mind as regards this fight against graft?
Frankly, I thought I knew a lot about the corruption of the previous regime, but I was in shock and a process of continuous subsequent shock at the sheer scale, at the number of people, but above all, at the callousness of these individuals. 20,000 people had been killed by the Boko Haram insurgency, mainly because the armed forces did not have enough arms. I find it murderous for somebody who is given resources to procure arms and equipment to stop the massacre of Nigerians. Instead of buying those arms and equipment, they distribute it to political friends, and those monies are wasted fitted while our armed forces are being killed, our police are being killed, and ordinary citizens are being killed. Atrocities are going on. Villages and towns were being destroyed. It is what is called crime against humanity, because these people have responsibility not just for their acts of corruption, but also for creating conditions for the escalation of mass murder and atrocities against the people of this country.
So, in other words now, how can the government stop this sort of trend? Because I can't, or some people also might believe that if we're not well checked, we could have some sort of scenarios like this repeat itself.
You see, there has to be exemplary punishment. Somebody who is responsible for 20,000 deaths is not a small crime against the people. In China, what they will do is shoot you in the head and send the bullet to your relations for them to pay the cost of the bullet. I think that's against the principles of human rights, and I will not recommend that for our country. But I will definitely recommend that in addition to the criminal charges against these individuals for corruption, we have to bring in the issues of crimes against humanity committed by these people and charge them for these crimes and for the massive death and destruction that they have encouraged and promoted in our recent history.
When you say charge, what are you talking about specifically?
Well, there are crimes against humanity for people who engage in atrocities and mass murder. I think with any definition, the death of 20,000 people is atrocity. It is crime against humanity. And what I'm recommending is that in addition to the criminal corruption charges, the competent authorities should look into additional charges of crimes against humanity.
All right, hold on with your thoughts. We'll continue on this particular subject. We're still with Dr. Jibrin Ibrahim, a senior fellow, Center for Democracy and Development. Please stay with us on this.
What I certainly mentioned to Mr. President this morning was that his fight and his determination to fight corruption and his determination to bring about transparency and accountability at all levels of the economy were very important agenda item and very ambitious goal that need to be delivered upon, which he himself is definitely committed to, as he indicated this morning, and as he inspires his team members.